like this a lot. I really like this lesson. It's called Quadrantal Angles because if you were doing like handout F, you probably noticed that some of the questions were on the actual axes. And how do you solve questions that are asking for like sine, cos, or tan of 0 degrees or 90 degrees or 180 or 270 or 360? There's a very specific way to solve them, and I'm going to show you. But again, it requires a little bit of like memorization almost. This is something called the unit circle. And the unit circle means it has a radius of 1. That means from the center to every single one of these points on the circle, you are going to have a measurement of 1. And that's how you get these coordinates here, right? Because if you're going from the origin 1 to the right, it's going to be 1, 0. If you're going up, it's 0, 1. To the left, negative 1, 0. And down, it's going to be 0, negative 1. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to show you the theory behind how we get this. And then after that, if you want to just memorize it, it's totally fine. But just like with anything in trig, what happened was if you draw a triangle, so if you were to draw a line going down, that line's length would be 1 because it's a unit circle. All the radii are 1. And then let's say I drew a line going down. We don't know the measurement of x and y. In fact, it takes a lot higher level math to figure it out at this point. So we're just going to go ahead and call this x and y, and we're going to call this theta. Now, based on this information, we can get a couple of formulas. So we can say sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which is known as y. Actually, it's technically y over 1, but you don't need to write the 1, so we're just going to call it y. You guys see where I got that from? Okay. Then we can figure out cos theta, which would just be adjacent over hypotenuse. And so that would be x over 1. We don't really need to write the 1, so we're just going to call it x. And then finally, tan theta is opposite over adjacent, so it's going to be y over x. Okay, so now here's the really cool part. I always, like when I learned this at first, I thought it was just so cool. You might not, but let's hope you do. So what this means is when you've been given a coordinate in the unit circle, the x represents cosine. So this right here is cosine. This right here is cosine. The x here is cosine, and this here is cosine. What does that mean? That means cos theta is equal to 1. Cos 90 degrees is equal to 0. Cosine of 180 degrees is equal to -1. And cosine of 270 degrees is equal to 0. I'll repeat it again after. Now let's go on to sine. Your sine is represented by the y value. So all of our y's are going to be sine. This, oh, that's too similar. Let's use maybe yellow. So this is your sine value. This is your sine value. This is your sine value. And this is your sine value. So what does that mean? That means if I asked you, what is the sine of 0 degrees, what would you say? Yeah, sine of 0 degrees is 0. You first figure out what angle I'm asking you, and then you just read off the y value. It would just be 0. What if I asked you, what is the sine of 90 degrees? 1. Good. So let me just write this down. How did we figure that out? Well, we just went to 90 degrees and we read off the number 1. What is sine of 180? 0. And sine of 270? -1. Good. All right. So using that information, let's fill out the chart. Let's first figure out what sine of all of these angles are. So you're basically reading everything in the yellow. Sine of 0 degrees is 0. Sine of 90 degrees is 1. Sine of 180 is 0. Sine of 270 is -1. And 360 has the same answers as 0. So sine of 360 degrees is going to be 0. Let's do the same for cosine. Cos 0 is 1. Cos 90 is 0. Cos 180 is -1. Cos 270 is 0. And cos 360 is 1. Don't memorize the chart, but rather just try to understand the unit circle And the x is always your cosine, the y is always your sine. How about tan? Tan is a little bit weird because what you're going to do for tan is you are going to take the ratio of the numbers. So for example, tan over here, tan theta is going to be y over x. So you're basically dividing your y value, which is 0, over your x value, which is 1. 0 divided by 1 is just the number 0. How about tan of 90 degrees? So we're going to go to the 90 degrees. Remember, tan of 90 is going to be y over x. So it's going to be 1 over 0. What is 1 over 0 going to give us? Nope. It's undefined, yes. So this answer is actually going to be undefined, yes. You know when this will make a lot of sense? When we actually get to graph, like the next unit is graphing sine cos, and we don't really graph tan, but I will show it to you, and then you'll see why it's undefined. Okay, let's go to 180. So here's 180. Remember, tan of any number is the y value divided by the x value. So the y value in this case is 0, and the x value is -1. 0 over any number is going to be just 0. 270. So tan of 270 is going to be -1 over 0. -1 over 0 is also undefined. Yep. And then the 360 is the same as 0. So this will also give us an answer of 0. Astahin, Marju?